This Georgian bread, Adjaruli Khachapuri, is my favorite dish in the family. I posted a simple short excerpt before and you guys loved it, and so I decided to show you how to do it step by step from scratch. You can also freeze a bunch of them when you prepare them and use as meal prep. So first, use 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of yeast, half a teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, and then 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 1 cup of milk. This is it. Now keep in mind, I will be preparing a triple batch, so you will notice that I'm gonna make much more of those out because I have a big party coming up. It's Easter, my in-laws are coming, my parents love this, and my nephews and nieces do too. So you knead the dough for about 10 minutes in the mixer or by hand, and then you let it rest for a couple of hours, and look how beautifully it rises. And then you can push the dough down, and then you're going to start preparing one by one the actual khachapuri. So first, you're going to separate the dough into equal pieces. You can use a scale or just use them to eyeball yourself. The dough is beautiful, soft, incredible. I love working with the dough in general, but this one is really one of my top favorites. You can see how beautiful it looks. And I'm gonna freeze some, cook some, and drive up to my sister and my parents to drop some off for them as well. For cheese, traditionally you use suluguni. It's a type of soft cheese with a hint of saltiness. Now, it's hard to find it in North America unless you go to Georgian store, so you can use halloumi instead in combination with mozzarella, cheddar, and cottage cheese. And it turned out beautifully, and I highly recommend you do that combination or some variation of that after you got to try it after once. You take one of your bowls, and then we start kneading the dough. The dough is very easy to work with. It's soft. You don't have to press much. It does take a couple of minutes to roll the dough, but it's not something that's hard to do at all. And you can see in the background my son is chilling, and it's so therapeutic to work with dough. I love doing that. No matter how busy I am, I think one thing I'll always do is cook something with dough. You'll notice on the channel my husband mostly does the main courses, but if there is one thing I love doing is desserts and anything with dough, like breads. And you could see this dough is very stretchable and doesn't rip easily in your hands. Beautiful. So once you're done rolling the dough, you're probably going to have a circle that's half of that size, and generally, traditionally, you do have khachapuri that are smaller, but because I have big events coming up, I just made larger ones because we have big parties. So you take parchment paper, and you want to layer your flat sheet of dough first onto the parchment paper because it will be easier to work with and transfer the khachapuri after. Otherwise, it might be a bit harder to move it around once the cheese is there because it gets heavier. So first thing we do is take cheese and put it on the sides of the rolled sheet of dough. And we do that because we're going to add edges of khachapuri that will have cheese inside. You know, just like the edges you do with pizza, we do the same thing here. And once you add a good amount of cheese, it will really eventually depend on your preference. Put a little bit like I did, and then eventually once you try it once or twice, you can decide how much more you want to add. And then you start pinching on the edges and rolling the ends of the sheet of dough to put the cheese into the roll and roll it on the sides just to create these beautiful edges. We're forming boat-shaped dough, so that's why you want to make sure at the ends you're meeting the ends in dough in a boat-shaped form. You repeat the process the same way on the other side. And it's okay if bits and pieces of cheese are in the center because next step will be to add cheese in the center. So after you finish rolling it, make sure you secure the ends well, otherwise your cheese will just fall out. Not hard to do, just be mindful of that. So once you form this beautiful boat shape, we're gonna add cheese in the middle as well. And you could see in the background I've already prepared one, and this is the one I'm showing you. I will be doing another video where I actually do all three of them, but in that video I wanted to chat with you more of sort of a vlog, and this one was specific to show you how step-by-step instructions of doing khachapuri. Once you have all of your khachapuris here, we're gonna, before we put it in an oven, we're gonna add some egg on top of the sides and butter on top of the sides of the khachapuri, so the egg will make it more golden in color, and butter will also give it a nice buttery warmth in the dough. So you put that egg on top and brush it on the edges of the dough, and then you put it in the oven at about 180 degrees for 25 minutes or so, plus or minus 5 minutes. You want to make sure you actually freeze some. You just wrap it in cellar wrap and put it in the freezer and take it out whenever you want right away, like pizza. Cook it at the same way you do it now. And so you take it out, you make a little hole, then you add an egg, and I forgot to show you, but you also add bits of pieces of butter on top of your cheese, and then you bake for another 5 minutes or so. And voila, look at this delicious khachapuri. You're gonna adore it, and it's probably gonna be your famous staple in the house as well, because at least it is in my house. It never goes old, and it's easy to cut into it, and it could be like a flatbread or more like pizza, depending how much cheese you add. This was a bit on the thinner side, which I wanted intentionally, and you can dip it into the egg just like that and indulge. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon with our next recipes.